AI gonna make a world an honest place. And I'll tell you how. With the agility of decision making, there will be lesser room for bull.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Zap Talk. Really excited to have you join us today. We have two awesome guest experts, but before we get into it, I just want to welcome our co-host, the one and only Alex Zap. Hey Alex.
Hey John, hey guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Before we dive in, I guess maybe a little quick background from each of you so everyone knows the awesomeness that they're getting. Clint, maybe we'll start with you. A little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so been in the testing industry, wow, for too many years. I would say probably like 26, no, close to 30 years now. So currently a free agent, but work with various software companies across the board. So many of them that you've heard of. So been in test automation, also working with AI and just, yeah, been around the block. Really glad to be here. Definitely an area that I'm very passionate about. And yeah, looking forward to talking with you guys.
And how about you, Jason?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, kind of similar thing. I think it's 30 years. So I'm going to just peg myself, my age at that. Long time actual worker, be sysadmin, jack of all trades, architect, and got into sales about 18 years ago. And I've been working in that space ever since then, working really with virtualization, automation, and now AI. Although dipped over a lot into centers of excellence, quality testing, all of that, continuous delivery and integration, the entire enchilada as it gets made and delivered to the populace vis-a-vis cloud and now AI, providing the garnishing. So I'm here to learn and to contribute if possible.
Awesome. So speaking of being ahead of the curve, Alex always says something before we start that throws me off. And what he said today was he wants to talk more about killing the consultants. And that was his big ask today of what we cover. So I guess the first question is, we hear a lot about AI tools could eventually replace consultants. Alex seems to always be pro AI, and I love that. But anyone have any pushback or any different thoughts on AI tools maybe eventually replacing consultants?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, and I agree with it in terms of you start looking at the future of AI, specifically agentic AI and what they're going to do. What we need to get away from is there are a lot of consulting firms that where you get guys that are it's just billable hours, right? And you have a lot of times where they're really just, you know, sucking up the funds of projects where they could be expanding and doing more. So I think what you're going to see with the evolution of AI, and especially in software testing, is the ability of these solutions to actually develop and work with a smaller team that's going to actually do automation the right way. So I think what we're seeing now is that everybody's doing it the exact same way it's been done for the last 50, 60 years. You get a bunch of folks, you put them on, they're supposed to be doing automation, things change, they have to figure out how to use the solution. That person leaves, then someone has to maintain their spaghetti code that they created with their test automation. So what we're going to see with AI and the evolution of agentic AI, especially with context engineering, is going to simplify that. So what we're going to see is just a total sea change in terms of how testing is done with AI, and corporations can save a ton of money and have to waste all this money with an army of consultants that are really just sucking up revenue that could be used for so many other things. So that's how I see it. I totally agree with that 100%.
Yeah. First off, I largely agree with Glenn. And, I'm not just going to lean on this from in a former life, I was a managing client principal for HP's professional services. So when I look at that, and that was a long time ago, most consulting is about the same. That's what I've largely, worked with customers and matched good expertise from companies like Zap with customers with problems that could be solved, and mix and mesh that, both in enterprise companies selling software, but also, working for boutique cloud consulting or automation consulting companies and things like that. And where I really see AI immediately hitting that is eliminating sort of the amorphous blended rate tier 4 type of architecture, types of things where we shuffle project management and soft skills and a lot of catch-all type of stuff. And I see a far more refined approach to consulting. So you're getting direct correlation to value spent to downstream results. And I think we're going to have far more highly competitive, but in a real way.
If you're still writing scripts to test software in 2025, you're not automating, you're just maintaining. Zap Test is the only automation platform powered by AI that sees your app like a human and executes like a fleet of machines. It works across everything: web, mobile, desktop, API, even test RPA, including the legacy tech no one wants to admit they still use. And you stop being the executive fighting fires and become the one scaling transformation like a beast. Click to see how Zap Test puts QA on autopilot and makes you the category king of automation.
Yeah, you're right, Jason. I agree with you. So my few cents on that. And Clint and Jason, you know me for over 20 years. You know my story. I have two decorated professionals on the market. One is a celebrity product manager. Clint, you've been through many products in the automation space, and you led the award-winning technology, market-winning technologies in your career. Jason, you've been in the tremendous enterprise, high-end professional services sales as much as I know you, right? So you understand the market very well. I led the SWAT team of Mercury that segued to the HP afterwards. So I led the professional services subdivision that was taking the most mission critical engagements as a post-sale, right? So, and I've been on the edge of merging the right, which almost right. Makes sense? So consulting industry in the automation space predominantly relies on the lack of the promise that the developer, the product teams were given to their customers. So, for example, predominantly, WebDriver industry relies on the pitfalls of the quick test pro object recognition and object repository that couldn't recognize object on the most mission critical processes. Descriptive programming was taking place. Everybody were describing the property of the project in a singular line of code. That added enormous amount of man hours to the automation. So with that said, on the commotion of the low-level coding rise the entire multi-billion-dollar industry that in the completion to the product sales required triple budget to drive this automation process through the workforce to implement these tools that being purchased. Make sense? Now, with the rise of AI and the rise of the autonomous automation, we're eliminating this gap. Now, honest to goodness, any subject matter expert that their leadership bought the product for be able to drive entire process from beginning to the end with the smart AI-infused tools. Make sense? How do you see that?
Yeah, I see it as from the standpoint of when I start looking at not only just when I look at just those that really know what they're doing in our industry, right? You look at some of our thought leaders. You look at Joe, you look at Jason, look at yourself. Imagine if we had the folks that have your skill set that can run these teams or be able to reduce that amount of waste. Because what you're going to see is those that really understand test automation, that have really been, the advocates of it and been preaching about it and doing all these great things, they can now, with the help of AI, eliminate a lot of the waste that Jason talked about earlier. So now you've got the experts, and now you're seeing the evolution of quality and those experts in quality. So what are they doing now? They're doing things, it's a totally different paradigm, right? It's a paradigm shift. So now what you're seeing is those experts that understand this and really understand how to use AI and agentic AI and how to apply context engineering in the right way. Having them lead that, that's going to shrink that team. So now you've got someone at the top that's leading it versus having someone with an army of testers that are manual and automated. But now you've got true experts that are coming in, that are actually lean, that's really helping, accelerate quality for all these organizations. So I definitely see it as with these solutions like what you have with Zap Test, and those that really understand test automation and not just guessing or just trying to choose the flavor of the month tool to actually go in there and try to implement it, and leaving a company with a bunch of spaghetti code and waste.
I think the creation for the sake of creation is one thing, or code for the sake of code, but also security, job security, or otherwise, their obfuscation. That's been a concept that exists, but I think that by really clearing the air and eliminating all of the layers, the fog of war or whatnot, we're really stripping down. First, we're raising the base on any project for any company starts exponentially over where a project would have started 10 years ago just because of AI. You've got some base code, your development time is going to be accelerated. Now you're moving at scale, you're moving at demand. I think that the real downstream implication of all of this is because you're eliminating a lot of that fog and a lot of that mystery, and you're saving time and everything else. Yes, individual teams can run leaner, but I think it also gives you a greater diversity of strategies that companies can employ to it as well. So you might be able to spin up 5 different new projects or just one in the same budget, or for a company that's working with a different budget, we can just be laser focused and hit this and go hard and running. I think that ability to have choice and how you're going to bring a product to market originally and each and every single iteration is earth-shakingly dramatically altered by this, because now everything that we have been doing potentially has to be rethought as we, shake this up. If you truly want to be disruptive, this is the time to do it. And to be able to be disruptive in your approach, you can get a lot more done lean. And I think here you start and you see, how far can I go on my own little project on the side? And then if you do that as a company, as individuals contributing to it, I think you get a tremendous amount of downstream value. You just need to figure out a way to harness that unbridled potentiality that's exposed and come up with a way. And I think that's where procedurally, that's, the real focus of going back to, the process consultants and everything else, that's where they need to rethink the way the processes should flow to make this all work and harness the true power of the technology. Sorry, done with my soapbox on that one. It is black belt in Six Sigma, so the efficiency thing starts to percolate, and that's underlying all of this. I see all of these areas for efficiency.
Yeah, Jason, speaking of the Six Sigma and black belt, what I see historically in the industry, it's a waste of budgets and efforts on redundancy. Mm-hmm. So if you take any large institution, you have so many corners in the company that replicating themselves 3, 4, 10 times. Makes sense? Because they don't have unified way of collaboration among them, and they have a separate goals as far as the development and automation in general. Makes sense? And altogether, if process would be optimized greater, and the corporation would have a best practices to review efficiency of each automation team and share artifacts that those teams producing, and ideally unified into the hubs, sort of, which going to provide more streamlined automation across the groups and maybe even across the disciplines. So the companies would be not even the budget wise, but more even the efficient wise in the better space. Because right now with the agility of AI, it won't be even the aim gain won't be even saving the budget as much as delivering it fast. Make sense? Everybody's expectations leveled to the system prompt response of generative AI today. So the way it answers your question, a miscellaneous question, the way your leadership expect you to provide and produce all your daily work. Something like that. That's what I see. What do you think about it, guys?
Well, yeah, I think the clarity and the transparency is one of the biggest things in that. I mean, my background not being development, but making sure what developers do stand up really from a functional standpoint. I kind of look at that. That's how I'm looking at efficiency and mean time to resolution always. So when this does break, what's the impact? What's it going to do and everything else? So I think that not just from where you guys are approaching this, just from a test automation perspective, but and more attention needs to be paid to testing all code that goes out. And now, can you keep up with pace and demand? But more importantly, does the entire environment know when this new code's released and whatever gets touched and everything else? So I think that because it's a much more narrowed focus and you've got a lot of information that's automatically collected, it should result downstream where we're doing less discovery in resolving things and more that just proactively, okay, we're anticipating and building this in so we know how to handle these things. So we're anticipating growth type of cycles and optimization. So I hope that ultimately the entire scope of this is to shift. So in that choice of change, we can make choices that put us in less of a reactionary stance and more of a proactive stance in the way we do everything. And that extends from, code development and release to the other aspect of agentification, which is to receiving the feedback loop from the customer as well. And all that. So all the inputs on that code after it gets released, we've got more meaningful collection points of information that can be rationalized into something objective and useful downstream.
Record playback felt like a toy? Needed help to scale? Record and playback reinvented, powered by Zap Test. Record real actions. AI turns them into test scripts. Scalable, codeless, smart. Zap Test one click. Reinvent your testing today.
All right, so I'm just curious to know, Alex, for leaders that already hire consultants today, will they always need consultants at some point? Like, what is uniquely human that consultants still can contribute? AI can handle maybe the more technical or advisory task.
No, for sure, Joe. A consultancy doesn't go completely away. I mean, I'm not suggesting that it's going to eliminate and wipe it off, because the consultants, it's contract killers, right? So you need to have a percentage of people that highly motivated and skilled to deliver more, maybe a little bit higher paid, right? But with the lesser benefits, let's say. So strategically, consultants always been onboarded by enterprises for few main reasons. One reason that they possess better experience because they cost more. And the second reason, it's easier to downside with having the percentage of the workforce that's independent, because it's easier to eliminate it if the economy goes down. Makes sense for the any disruption that what we're facing with AI, for example. So in the way I see it with my experience in the services in general, the consultancy going to remain about 30% of what it is right now. It's going to be highly trained and experienced individuals that going to be continue driving the processes and augmenting the workforce and organization, but their mission will be shifted, escalated, because everything will be escalated. AI fulfills the need for a lower and mid-size engineering. Make sense? So you're looking for leadership engineers right now. Consultants definitely, architectural, senior leader roles remains in the industry. Makes sense? But let's say instead of having 100 people shuffling the web driver low-level coding, you're going to have maybe a few automation professionals that will be guiding your clients through the process with the AI-infused tools, and making sure on the instructor level that no mistake been made before the execution, or if the new functionality or new processes taking place, they be able to guide their customers and clients how to do it right, something like that.
I couldn't agree more, but I also am kind of wanting to solicit your thoughts on this too. I think one thing that is going to become abundantly clear out of this, again, from a transparency perspective, but the actual ability of somebody and the ability to be entrepreneurial in this, I think it really is one of those things where when we question objective value from a project and everything, I think that this is a leveling of the playing field for a lot of individual or small consulting firms out there also to shine in this and to be able to say that we can prove our work. And we only take on these projects. This is how much we can consume. This is how much we're going to commit. And this is how much we're going to do. I think they're going to know how much they can do that too. Just, as a caveat going on in the background. But then going forward, I think it's going to have a real proof point and a documentation in this that here's where a company was and we've got a tangible result because we can show this and it's going to be easier to collect all those key points of data and put them into some sort of a dashboard that's valuable and everything. And these could be dashboard consulting projects. But I think that the more I see and in my day to day and everything, you're getting a lot closer to a pure set of truth and data with this too, in all levels. So I think it raises the expectations and it improves the value that you're getting, but also inspires everybody to be very honed with their skills so they can take on projects that they want to do and can do, and they can do well, versus trying to be a jack of all trades, maybe if they don't really want to do that. I mean, it's going to balance itself is what I'm saying. It's going to be very obvious how that is. And that might be controversial, but I think there's a lot of change that we're going through, and the changing in jobs is probably going to be people getting into things that they really wanted to do in the first place, from a tech perspective. Maybe they really just always wanted to do architecture and they got stuck in databases or security or something, they go back to that. Who knows? Development too, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think what we're also seeing, because this field is changing daily and it's changing constantly, what we're seeing today is going to be totally different 6 months from now. Because what I'm seeing, even with a lot of the, other vendors, right? Everyone's pushing, agentic AI. Well, I would say it's agentic adjacent, if that's a term, right? Because you haven't quite reached that level of agentic AI for testing, right? There's certain things that we're doing that we're kicking off, but it's not maintaining everything that we're doing. And I think what we're seeing now is we have to separate the hype from the reality, because we're seeing the evolution. Like, for example, if you start looking at a lot of the MCPs that are coming out for Selenium, for Playwright, those are really good, especially the ones I've seen for Playwright. They are doing, but they still require a certain level of manual intervention because it's not perfected yet, but they work extremely well. So what we have to do is, as we look at how this industry is growing and how it's changing, we have to really dig deep into how is machine learning and AI being used with a lot of these technologies? How much of it is generative versus agentic, right? How deep do we get into context engineering as a field? And how does that overlap with what we're doing with test automation versus software development? And eventually, how will these tools integrate directly with these various frameworks, and how companies are building their applications? Because a lot of these applications are being built using code generated from AI. Especially, I'm seeing a lot of external uses for Claude Code other than coding. So people are using them to actually do agentic tasks. So we're seeing this, the way that the tools are being used, how they're evolving. And I think in terms of, like you said, you're going to see these entrepreneurial type companies, right? The smaller companies that can go in and make, significant changes to how software testing and software development is being done.
Clint, I agree. I mean, I'm a hybrid between two of you, right? So I started as an advanced consulting company. We evolved to be an advanced product company. And I can tell you that guy that used to make a revenue from one line of business and to switch to another one. Consulting rise when the tool failed to deliver. Managers hire consultants when the tool that they purchased for their team failed to deliver the promise. Make sense? And the poorly implemented and delivered tools drive to the higher volume of consultancy to fulfill the process. Mm-hmm. Make sense? If you have a well-delivered, smart tools, you don't need consultant in numbers. Make sense?
Yeah. You remember Clip, Alex, when we at Seamless we first started talking about Clip and everything and closed loop incident processing, and then everybody else started using that term too. But I'm going to toss it out there that that's one of the apex levels of automation from a ITOM perspective. Not in DevOps. And I don't know what that holy grail is as it is over in testing, but I'm guessing there's a term that I am forgetting and I just can't remember it. But there's that same type of thing where you get a level of elegance out of solving one particular type of thing. But the limitation was always that you solve that one thing because you're responding to varieties and vectors on a particular variable, but you're still that one thing. And you can explore some things, but it's limited. I think when people realize we were already there. So a lot of things that are being discovered are things that were already possible with automation. You know what I mean? So I think when we really start to push the envelope into what's truly achievable with AI that goes and shows demonstrably what's evolutionary more powerful than what you can achieve with something like Clip, which was amazing. A lot of customers thought so too. The thing is here, we haven't even touched it yet. I mean, the best that we can really see overt real creations would be like what you see with maybe VO or something and reproducing a scratch video or telling a story or whatever. I'm a musician myself, so I'm going to not get into the music part, not generating that. But when it applies to this and software development, I think back to the human aspect of this, I still think we as humans are all going to have our influence in this because we're unique in our ability to make tangential leaps in logic.
That's where Zap Test comes in, an AI-powered test automation platform that lets you automate 100% of your testing without writing code. From AI-driven record and playback reinvented to full cross-platform support, Zap Test transforms how QA and DevOps teams work and grow. And soon we'll be hosting exclusive events to explore how AI is changing the game. Zap Test. Automate smarter. Future-proof your role.
Well, you mentioned HR, and the first thing that came to my mind was the whole Workday scandal.
I knew you'd come up with an example.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with. Yeah. So that's the one that popped up for me. It's like, I think you can kind of, I always forget there's a skiing term. I don't ski, but when you, overextend
don't get up over your tips.
Or whatever you're doing, yeah, exactly. And I think that's what happened probably with Workday, with their over reliance on AI to really screen the resumes, right? So you have to make sure, like you said, the old computer phrase, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you don't do it correctly, then you're going to end up causing more problems that is going to cost your company its reputation. And I think that's the big thing. We're going to see this in the testing industry as well, right? We're going to see a lot of these companies that are pushing AI first solutions or trying to reimagine their solutions with AI on top of it. You're going to see a lot of them fail. And there's going to be a customer out there that's going to end up having some serious ramifications of using one of these commercial tools out there that's going to really affect how they do test automation. It can do something to damage their business or a level of productivity. But I think if you look at how various companies, you look at how Alex has built Zap Test and how he's doing it because of his thought process. You're talking about a guy that built it from the ground up, boots on the ground, that understands the industry. What you're seeing in a lot of these other commercial tools, they're being run by people that don't understand the industry. They don't have they have a high level view of it. They've run companies. So their goal is to, every goal of a company is to make money. But and that's one of the problems that I've seen in this industry working for various companies, especially various tools companies, is that they are run by people who don't understand the role of the tester. They don't understand the role of the developer. They don't understand. All they look at is, wow, this is cool. How can we make more money and how can we market it in a way that's going to make more money? And those that don't understand it are going to be the ones that are going to fall by the wayside. The ones that have leadership that truly understand, like Alex, who understands what's going on, that's going to be the biggest difference. And so being on the marketing side of these companies, I've seen it. I've had to push out the messaging, right? You go to a Star East or a Star West, you go to every single booth, all the marketing is going to look alike, right? Everything's going to be the same. Everybody's saying, this, that, and the other thing, but it's all the same. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a huge paradigm shift, and the ones that are going to rise to the top are the ones that really understand the industry and can really, and the ones that have put, have skin in the game in terms of understanding how test automation should be done.
You're absolutely right, Clint. AI gonna make a world an honest place, and I'll tell you how. We want with the agility of decision making, there will be lesser room for to be honest with you. Excuse my friend, right? So we spent our 20, 30 years of our careers in the corporate tsunami of Makes sense? You have a marketing budget. You hire people that want to please board of directors. They sing in the tunes. I mean, they cared for their year, 2, 3 years of them being in this position, collecting their paychecks. Make sense? How the market gonna unveil, it's a secondary story. But I'm always saying, because I'm the guy that bootstrapped all my career, I always cliffhanger, if you will, right? So I waiting every move I'll make technology-wise, business-wise, because I have a lot of things, depending on these decisions and the sustainability of these factors, right? So we're going to be absolutely that right that we're making the right move. So today, with the speed of agility of decision making and less room for mistakes, the solution that really mean it and make a difference is going to prevail. And it's not necessarily tools. It's maybe tools and services, maybe combination of both, right? But something that works and works right now, right here. Make sense? That's what I see. And AI going to help to drive this motion even more so.
So, Alex, how do you present your tool then to say to maybe enterprises? Most organizations, I think, have to really trust the AI tools at the same level and confidence as maybe a seasoned consultant. So how do you get to that point, though? Get over the hype to actually say, hey, this is a tool that actually can help you, and not say, like, we're this huge corporation consultants that they can blame if something goes wrong almost.
I like honest to goodness approaches. Like, let's get naked right away. Makes sense? So there's no hiding. There's no, I'm trying to be very blunt and razzle-dazzling in this way. But I'm saying, guys, there's no BS. I mean, here's a demo. This is how it looks like. Let us do live proof of concept in front of you. We're going to assign quick NDA. We're going to do few hours hibachi grill automation. We won't even need to prepare. You just let us drive you computer, and whatever you show us manually, we're going to automate right in front of you. So, and it can be cross application, can be mainframe to mobile. We don't care. If you can show us manually right now in front of us, among between applications, maybe testing, RPA process, whatever we want, right? We can automate. And at that point, we're saying, guys, it's obvious it works for your applications, right? Now, we're going to go even further. We're not going to charge you for 6 months. It gives you opportunity to live with our technology. And we're giving you even expert on the top that we're not charging you for. It's absolutely complementary. Makes sense? We're giving you full-time consultant, black belt, cross-discipline trained by us, SWAT team operative. That's going to be part of your team at no cost. Make sure that you ride with your automation within the Zap Test AI. You see what I'm saying? So to me, it's a most convincing event. You don't need to be decorated professional. You don't need to be backed by the multi-million dollar VCs. You have a very simple, right? Like a Western style. It's just you and 2 guns on both sides. Makes sense? And who's going to be better?
Okay, guys, let's wrap things up. Any final thoughts?
I think the interesting thing about that, one final thought, and Alex, I think this is largely derivative out of probably conversations we've had before, but maybe this is finally the time when the IT world really takes over IT from business. And I think that's what ultimately we're at, that inflection point. We're seeing the rise of the CTO maybe versus the CIO. and nothing against the position, but I think a lot of people who've been around understand what I'm saying, that, people who've grown up and had a full career in IT probably are capable of making decisions and understanding budget versus picking up, you understand budget and know nothing about IT. And, you have to try to make really company impacting future of the company decisions here at this point. So this particular moment of truth with new technology and everything, it probably behooves just more of these conversations, more of this open thoughts on technology, because I think we're in for a wild ride and you want the right people guiding you down that path, whether that be, it's going to be a mix of external consultants, and your approach is perfect. I'm all on board with that. It's the entire thing. I think that there's going to be a lot of people needing to spread a lot of knowledge across a lot of different industries we don't typically think about to get through this, and it'll be fun. So those are mine.
Yeah, I would say, I think just from my perspective, the business model is going to change. Right now, what I've seen is a lot of the larger commercial tools, or I would say the more expensive commercial tools, they pretty much just tossed AI on their existing business model, and people are getting tired of that, right? We don't, yeah, everyone wants to, be exposed and, upskill themselves and take advantage of AI, but there needs to be a way that AI is going to pretty much level the playing field and pretty much flip the business model on its head, right? So you talk about what Alex is doing, like with 6 months, POC, no hardcore commitment other than take the software, implement it, do what you got to do, right? So a lot of organizations, there's no way they would do that. They can't pay their sales force. So I think it's going to require, as AI starts to mature, you're going to see bigger disruptions, especially in the testing industry, where we're already considered I don't want to say a bottleneck, basically an additional cost to that software development effort. So there has to be a way. So I think what we're going to see, especially when we start going to these various conferences, you're starting to see smaller and smaller companies, like you said, these 1 and 2, entrepreneur folks coming in and trying to do this. So I think what we're going to see is just the evolution, and that the business model is going to change dramatically, and it's going to be a paradigm shift for test automation.
Joe, my wrapping up the statement will be asking the audience to give us a chance to take a look at Zap Test, to book a meeting with us, to give it a ride, and you won't be disappointed. I never lost the opportunity in the past 15 years only to the budget or the politics. But if you're true to the technology and you really want to make a difference in your organization, for whatever reason it is, if it has to do anything with automation, we can deliver. So hit us up, zaptest.ai. You can talk to my digital avatar. It's the best expert, best pre-sales engineer in the world. It looks like me, but doesn't have any accent, speaks 150 languages, and knows everything Zap Test better than I am.
Meet our Alex Zap avatar, your AI-powered automation agent, ready to answer your questions in real time. Want to know how Zap Test can optimize your business? Need insights on automation without scheduling a call? Just ask our AI agent. No wait times, no commitments, just instant expert answers when you need them. Chat with our Alex Zap avatar now and get the answers you need on your time.
With that said, guys, let's be happy and let's zap.